Space Committee meeting. We went into executive session at 8:30. It is now 8:46, and we have adjourned the executive session and returned to the regular open session. We have a guest. Would you like to identify yourself?
Hello, Joe Rigo. I'm representing the Harwich Fire Association, and today I come to you guys for a request for support for a affordable housing project that we're working on.
Okay, good, all right. Joe, I passed along the pamphlet that you had sent me. Now, you said there was updates to that, or?
So, first time participant in a Rios committee meeting, a longtime fan. I've watched you guys for a while. I enjoy your committee. It's good stuff you guys do, just wanted to say that. The pamphlet I passed out, I apologize, is an older pamphlet, so some of the information is not up to date. The person that handles my pamphlets just shrink wrapped his boat, so hopefully it gets updated soon. But the Harwich Fire Association, we purchased the old Bank Street Fire Station, the original fire station for this town. We were a ghost ship. We didn't really have a building. We've been in association for 100 years. We're kind of like a booster club support for firefighters. We've worked in the community with education, like scholarships for high school kids and stuff like that. We received a CPC article for a historical restoration of the exterior of that building. And looking forward, we see the housing issue, and we're doing an application passed in now for 3 apartments on the second floor of that building, addressing affordable housing. Our original goal in our membership, it's a group of 40-plus people, is that we see the future of the working force not being able to have housing, probably now, but definitely in the future. So that's something we thought we would address. We thought it'd be a good use of that building. On the pamphlet I passed out, there's a couple of floor plans. Those have changed a couple times over meetings that we've had with different organizations. It still remains 3 apartments. One of the biggest changes is one of the apartments has 2 bedrooms, and I believe it's going to go down to a 1-bedroom. And then that other area is going to be an office or storage.
So, Joe, are all 3 units going to be affordable?
So my understanding, working with the housing advocate, is that, receiving money, public money, we're going to have to make, our intention is to make them affordable, but we would have to make all 3 apartments. If we accept money for each apartment, it would be affordable, median area income people.
Okay, all right.
Do you know what percentage of AMI you'd be at?
So I'm working on that. It's definitely 100%.
Okay.
Or 80%, depending on which organization requests whichever number it is. 80% I understand is low income, and 100% is the median. So I'm waiting to see what we come up with.
Thanks.
And who else have you gone to for funding?
Support?
Yeah, for support or for funding?
So I'll explain both those. Obviously, we work really close with the Harwich Conservation Trust, almost becoming a mentor to me. So I reached out for them for support. They said they would support us. They're doing some applications also. We're going to support them. We've reached out to the Housing Trust, and we're working with them on what they can or cannot do to help us reduce our CPC amount.
Okay.
And then just recently, we've reached out to some financial institutes that allow grants for affordable housing. So we're working on some grants with at least 2 financial institutes. We're seeing if there's money available and if we are eligible.
Yeah. And now, and how much are you looking? How much do you need? That's the. Have you
So
figured out?
we did some estimates, local estimates, and we got a lot of high numbers back this time. My last article, I got a lot of low numbers. I got to figure it out. So working with some builders and some contractors, we're requesting $850,000. We think that we can do the project for $850,000. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone? Questions, comments?
Dave's going to say.
These rental units as affordable housing, they wouldn't be
they would have to be offered to the public or the lotteries and so forth. It couldn't necessarily be for the.
Right, so accepting the money, we have to abide by the Fair Housing Act, which would have to employ what do you call it?
Lottery.
A management company, and we'd have to employ a lottery company to take in applications, see eligibility to allow to select for those apartments. And then the management company would have rules and regulations of how those people can live in there or not live in there. If they end up making too much money over so many years, the special wording there, I apologize, I don't remember it, then they would manage people living there or not living there for meeting that income.
And who would be responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the,
Well, we're the property owners, we're responsible
So
for
you
the
would be-
building, but we employ, my understanding, we employ the management company, we agree to rules and regulations with them, and I think if there's a phone call for a clogged toilet at night, I believe they handle it. But I don't know that. I'm meeting with 3 management companies in the next couple of weeks to interview them, to see what they can do and can't do. And then we're also gonna interview, I believe there's only one lottery company on the Cape, and see what they do. So that's my next step on that.
it's a real education for you, isn't it?
Every step I take has been
Yeah.
educational, yeah.
Anyone else? Comment or question? Kathy?
Yeah, so, I'm on the Community Preservation Committee, so I'll be holding your feet to the fire in a couple weeks.
I'm
Anyway,
ready for
but
you.
Ask Mike, he knows.
I enjoy it.
So I'm not gonna get bogged down in that kind of stuff, but, you mentioned in some of your literature that the original goal was to offer preferred housing to members, either in sort of the fire community, the police community, health professionals,
Yeah.
Whatever. And I know that, depending upon where the funding comes from,
Not gonna be able
you're
to
not
do
gonna be able to do that.
Yeah, my membership, that was one of their biggest goals, was to help the community, and that's kind of the goal of CPC, I believe. I believe it's one of the goals of your committee. So we're gonna end up helping the community, but it's gonna be more broad than we expected. We're still gonna entice, town people, local workers for the town hall, workers for the police, workers for the fire department, workers for the water. We're still gonna entice them to apply, but we can't hand select them, no.
I mean, like 3 units, you could end up with 100 applications
Yes.
easily in this kind of a market that we have now, so.
Yeah, I've talked to the advocate of the town, and she said sometimes you get 100, sometimes you get 7. She says all depends on a bunch of things, I imagine.
And I know you're gonna have a management company. Are they looking at long-term rentals versus short-term rentals? Meaning looking for, year-round rental,
Oh.
like annual rentals, or people that are gonna come in for 3 months before they can find more permanent housing? I mean, like, so
We're not
what's
really-
the thought process
Yeah,
there?
we're not really interested in that. We're interested in helping out community members that want to work here, and yeah, 3 years. The goal, the way it was worded in my membership was like, let's help these new people or younger people or less incomed people get on their feet. And that's because otherwise we see the future. We see the commuting off Cape. We see the not being able to buy a house here.
Right.
That's not fun.
And looking at the floor plans, I would assume that there's like soundproofing between the apartments?
So one of the, in my CPC application, one of the things I had was the insulator gave me like a really.
Saw that.
Yeah, and it's all spray foam and there's densities I don't understand yet. But yeah, that's definitely an attention. We don't want it. We don't want that complaint.
Right. And then there are 2 egresses?
There's technically 3. There's 2 exterior, and there'll be 1 technically interior. If you see the north side of the building, and I apologize, the north side of the building shows an exterior staircase. The east side of the building shows a staircase, and if you look kind of close to the center, there's a small staircase inside, next to the Unit 3's bathrooms. I don't know if it says all that on your map.
I don't even see, which one is Unit 3? I see.
Unit 3 would be the east one, the one that had 2 bedrooms.
Okay. So is the association, see, this floor plan that we have on here is maybe different from what you've put together now, but,
It is.
okay, so this one has the association section.
That is now an apartment.
That's now an apartment,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
My association was considering maintaining one of the apartments for themselves, not as an apartment, but just as a possible apartment, possible area to congregate. We don't need it, and accepting the money really doesn't allow it, so we're okay with that.
And then I noticed, so you requested 850,000 from Community Preservation Committee for the building of the 3 apartments. And then I listened to the Affordable Housing Trust give their spiel the other night, and they mentioned that you guys had asked for 150 per apartment from them. And is that on top of the 850, or is that in?
So the numbers are, with the trust, I apologize, the numbers are placeholders. I wasn't in the meeting, I wasn't either of those 2 meetings. It is not on top of, if we receive money from the trust, we would reduce that amount, whatever the amount is, from the CPC application.
Okay, and my last question is geared towards your organization's fundraising.
Yep.
So in addition to the potential grants that you're looking at,
Correct.
what other kind of fundraising have you done?
Well, we've been panhandling down at Harwichport last summer. But we've put together, we did put together a bunch of fundraisers for last summer, and we just didn't have enough time. So now we're in the process of putting together fundraisers for the May season on, and we're looking at, we've talked about a road race, we've talked about a ball, a fireman's ball, someone's talked about, we're talking about a Santa at the Old Bank Street Fire Station this Christmas. There's a cocktail party with come see the facility, what we're doing, so there's some things that, we have a subcommittee that's been working on these things, and they're in the process of bringing them to fruition for, the December, March, definitely May and on.
So do you have like a percent of the total budget that you're looking to raise through separate private fundraising?
I apologize, I don't have a number or a goal. Remember that question?
Oh, don't believe
And
it.
I will,
Don't worry.
I'll talk to the
I've got it on list.
I'll talk to the subcommittee, and I'll see what I can
Be
find out.
prepared.
Yep, thank you. Hold on, let me write this down.
He's leading
Be
you.
prepared.
Glad I'm here.
Now, Joe, originally, when it was only one unit that was going to be classified affordable, the thing was that the other 2, the income from them was going to help support the upkeep and the maintenance and everything else. So now that they're all affordable,
Mathematically, it works out. It still works out.
okay,
If we accepted no money for the Fair Housing Act, we would probably still rent those apartments at the rates requested. We're not trying to, we're not trying to make huge profit, maintain the building and help out, community members. That was our intent.
okay,
So we weren't surprised with the Fair Housing Act recommendations. We were like, oh, good, that's what we were thinking anyway.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, just concerned about that. Michael Locke, do you have something you'd like to share?
Good morning, Michael Locke, Executive Director, Harwich Conservation Trust. I just want to say first, I'm glad I'm not the only one who faces tough questions. And, I want to mention that Harwich Conservation Trust has been really grateful to work with the nonprofit Harwich Fire Association jointly on both acquiring the roughly 2-acre parcel from the Select Board Town of Harwich last December, and are so impressed with the progress of the Harwich Fire Association with the exterior renovation. And we fully support and encourage the Real Estate and Open Space Committee to provide a letter of support for Harwich Fire Association's next phase through this Community Preservation Act funding application. So Harwich Conservation Trust is fully behind Harwich Fire Association.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any comment? question? Kathy, you done? Okay. Dave?
No.
Okay.
Now.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Do we want to vote now, or do we, what's the feeling? What do we do? Do we want to have a discussion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we should have a discussion.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would certainly support a letter of support.
Okay.
It's, these kinds of relationships are, I think, there's some synergy there between doing the open space work and the historic preservation work and the housing work. Obviously, there's competition between all of those categories, and I would like to be supportive of what they're doing. I think it's an important thing to do, and that we're going to need to see more of that kind of small solution. It's not going to happen in one big project is not going to solve the affordable housing crisis. We're going to have a lot of people stepping up with sort of creative small solutions. So I would support it.
Okay.
I agree with you, Margot. I think, if this is the first project like it that I'm aware of, and it sets a standard and a goal for other people to undertake. And I think they're doing a first-class job with what I've seen so far. I know the money's tight in the CPC, and, I would like to see them give whatever that CPC can
Right.
do that. But I do support the project wholeheartedly. I think it's marvelous. It's it's space that's creatively being used, let's put it that way.
Kathy?
Well, I certainly support the collaborative efforts of HCT and the Fire Association. What I like is the fact that they've got a proposal for an actual brick and mortar, no pun intended there, but something, because our efforts in this town thus far have resulted in not much. So it's been outside organizations, nonprofits, et cetera, that have started to try to really come and actually produce something. So with regards to that, I'm, in favor. I would like to see, more private fundraising in addition to just, asking the taxpayers to, support something entirely. So.
Brad?
Yeah, I think it's a good use of an existing town resource, for starters. That firehouse was just there, it looked like. I like the amount of legwork you've put into it already with the plans, and you're doing your grant seeking, which is big with me. I have no reason I wouldn't support it.
Carol?
So following up on what Kathy said, yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a feasible, planned, project. Do we have a timeline?
In my CPC application, we figured it'd take us 1.5 years to complete if we start next summer. That's our goal.
Yeah.
But you know how things with contractors and weather,
Right.
we hope for the best.
That's good, though. Thank you.
Kathy?
Well, just to that point, the fact that they're a nonprofit enables them to, and a sort of a separate entity, not with the town, enables them to move forward without getting a lot of requests for proposals and going through that whole process.
Right.
And so therefore, when most organizations, if town meeting, votes in favor of the warrant article, funding is available July 1st of that year. It takes sometimes 9 months to a year for some of the committees and stuff in town to even get their request for proposal in the works and get the money. These guys started like July 1st, on the exterior. So, that's, that's a nice plus for them.
Right. Okay, I too, I support it. I have in the past talked with Joe and other members of the Fire Association. I think, as has been said here, it's a town-based group that's doing good for the town. And I think that's important. And I think we need to show support for that so that others may follow the lead at some point and take on projects like this. So you may be the trailblazer at this, but you know what? It's a good thing. It's a very good thing, and I would support it. So, do we want to take a vote?
Can I make one point? I'd also suggest that once you've finally mastered all of this stuff, you make yourself available to the next group that wants to.
Exactly. Yeah, do some mentoring.
You've,
I see that happens in the hallways out here. This guy started it, I understand.
Yeah, great.
All right, I'll make a motion
Okay.
that the Real Estate and Open Space Committee write a letter of support in favor of the old fire station moving forward with their affordable housing request to the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, Carol. Got it. Thank you very much, Joe. I'll get in touch with you and get the letter to you as soon as we can.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Doing this.
great.
All right. Kathy, you attended the open, sorry, did I
Yeah, it
startle me? Did I wake you?
Yes, I did
You
attend the
attended.
open.
Did anyone else attend the open meeting law?
No, I've done it in the past. I did it
Yeah, I
a couple of
have
years
too.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had never done it, that's why I did it.
Oh, okay.
And actually, there were a couple other members of the Community Preservation Committee there for a variety of reasons. It was actually very well attended. I mean, this particular one had maybe 40 attendees,
Oh, good.
which was, I thought, a lot for an afternoon of, But I went with questions.
Of
Of
course.
course I did, which were important, okay? One of them was the fact that if we are asked to attend something, like a ribbon cutting or, something that, we've supported in the past and we're
Right.
invited to attend, and then we have this discussion of how many people can go because we can't have more people to create a quorum. That's not true. If it's like a ribbon cutting or a celebratory kind of thing, it doesn't matter. As long as we're not like driving in the car together and deliberating.
Yeah, as long as we don't have a discussion about
Right,
it.
so we don't have to like post anything or anything like that.
Okay.
We do have to post something if we are going to meet with another committee, like if we were gonna meet with Board of Selectmen or something like that. They did have a thing for the site visits. It's not an invitation, and we can't deliberate. So we don't really have to post the site visits, because we're not really inviting people onto someone else's land.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so we don't have to post a site visit as an actual meeting, but we can't deliberate on site either. We'd have to come back and then have our meeting and deliberate.
Which is usually what we've
True,
done in the past.
true, I'm just saying that this,
Yeah.
so we don't like, and I
Right.
mean, I think sometimes we've thought that we'll address our little chart of,
Right.
Yeah.
Our evaluation.
Requirements,
yeah,
very.
right, exactly. And then the other big thing that I took away was about executive session minutes.
Okay.
In that, I know that they're, once they're sort of deemed not necessarily privileged anymore, they should be posted someplace.
Right.
We really need to have like one central place for that. Like, I'm just gonna say, like when Margot left Real Estate and Open Space, however many years ago that was,
Long time ago.
I was like the clerk, I think, and I got passed on a whole folder on the computer of executive session minutes. I still have that. So I need to give that to somebody who's gonna put all of our executive session minutes together, and then either give them to somebody in town clerk's office or something like that for, like,
Okay.
so that they're in one place, and that they can, I don't know if they need us to determine when they would be available.
I think what we ought to do is to have, maybe once a year, an agenda item to evaluate which of
Good idea.
the meeting minutes are
Yeah.
ready to be released. And
Right.
it's usually when the project is completed,
Right.
so that at that point, you don't, you're not risking anything by revealing.
A lot of
the-
our executive
think
session,
Carol-
a lot of our executive session minutes, though, never come, a good money of them, most of them don't come to fruition.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that information is something that we want out there or not. It's, like a homeowner comes to us and says, I want to see if you guys want to buy my land,
right.
and it could take a lot more research to find out if some of these homeowners have moved in other directions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think, we could ask a specific question of town council about that, but I do think that there's a timeliness issue here, and it really ought to be that we look at the substance of what was in those minutes and what's happened with that project, and if the project is resolved, you release the minutes, and if it's not resolved, then they stay in executive
Right.
form.
Well,
The thing-
I think Carol has a pretty good handle on this, right, Carol?
I mean, I have a file, if that's
Yes,
what you mean.
no,
Right,
well, I
yeah.
mean, yes.
Right, I keep them all in a file.
Yeah,
Yeah, but when you say release them where?
you give them to town clerk.
To the town clerk.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right,
They can decide what they're gonna do with them.
okay.
And I think maybe they wouldn't do anything unless somebody asked to see them or something, but, there is like a time frame here.
Yeah.
I agree with you, we should review once a year, but the other problem is that, we're all volunteers and we have, a clerk that, is a rotating position sometimes, so sometimes these things can kind of get
They can-
lost in the
they can-
shuffle.
They can fall.
So, I mean, Margot's been a clerk, I've been the clerk, you're the clerk, of the same committee, and,
I
I'm
only
just.
have the minutes from when I was the clerk. I don't
Right,
have the old ones.
exactly, so, I just think we need to, sharpen that up a little bit,
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
well-
Dave, go ahead.
Carol, how do our minutes end up on the town website? Do you give them to the clerk?
The regular meeting minutes? There's a email address that I send them to, and then they get posted.
So that's the same thing,
Yeah.
that would be the path for the executive minutes as well.
Well, I'm not hearing it's the same, I'm hearing it's,
I don't know if they post I don't know if they would or not,
Okay, yeah, well, we should check on
never
that,
have.
but it could be that that's the way
yeah.
you release them.
I
All right,
think they
well-
do. I think once they've been approved by the committee as, being ready for public release, I think they just put them on the website the same way all the other minutes are. It seems like the time to do it would be when we're, at the beginning of the fiscal year, when we're electing a new chair and, just doing all of our sort of administrative business to just make that a sort of standing agenda item for that meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Sound good to everyone?
yeah. The other thing was that one of the reasons you don't post the site things is because every meeting is supposed to be ADA accessible.
Right,
And
So that's
not
another reason
always
for that,
possible.
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was the agenda. They don't want you using any acronyms
Right,
or abbreviations, and whether it's new business or old business, it has to be detailed. Detailed enough that anybody looking from the public would know exactly what we were talking about.
you're talking about minutes now, not agenda,
I'm
right?
talking about agenda.
Oh,
agendas.
agenda. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
So-
that's true, I think, with the minutes, too. They don't want any abbreviations.
Well,
or-
that
Yeah,
yeah.
they want everything
You can
spelled out.
usually, if you
Do it
in
once,
full,
yeah.
you can use abbreviations
Right.
after that. That's the rule I
Right.
follow,
Okay.
yeah.
But sometimes I think we tend to, like, under old business or something, refer to something that, but they want detail.
Yeah,
Because they want anybody who's looking at it to be able to tell.
yeah.
Okay.
So are we still talking about agenda?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, agenda and minutes, I would imagine it
Yeah.
All right,
applies
well-
to both.
Well, minutes, I I know this from Robert's rules, you can just put discussion of da-da-da. And I think, I mean, in some cases, and if it's like a learning session, you don't have to put you don't have to put the lesson in there, let's say. But especially since they can go online, I kind of think of the minutes as, well, here's where I'm looking for something, here's where I get an idea, and if I want to know more, I go to the video. No, that's not,
Well,
that's my thinking.
The formal public record is the minutes, but if they don't, what you have to record is who was there, what was discussed, what votes were taken.
Right,
And,
right.
That's
it.
what,
You don't even have to say, well, who voted what.
no, you
Right.
don't.
And the other thing was that the emailing, when you send it out to everyone, and
Right.
we know not to respond to all, but whether it's emailing or not in a meeting, but in a social setting, as long as there's no sharing of feelings, ideas, beliefs, concerns, opinions, or impressions. Okay, got it? Those are my notes.
Thank you, Kathy.
It was a great takeaway.
Yeah, I actually watched, I did
No, it's,
go last time, and I did watch the video this time.
It's a great reminder, that's all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's
Keep us all-
mostly common sense, but not all of it is.
right.
The conflict of interest stuff is,
Gotcha.
that is really, a lot of it isn't common sense.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I got a lot out of it.
Thank you, Kathy,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
so before we move on though, with these executive session minutes, so is it my should I get your minutes and put them in one place for the now, and then?
Yeah, I'm gonna
at the
send
end,
you the folder
you
I
want us to
have.
vote? We'll do that process of going over, the once-a-year process. Is that,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's.
I won't give anything to the town clerk right now.
I think that the once a year should be maybe done in June before we
Before, yeah.
change
Yeah,
Right.
leadership.
Yeah,
yeah, good idea.
that makes sense. Okay.
All right, but till then, I will just keep them in a special folder.
Yeah, so if you all, whoever has any, Margot,
Yeah,
if
you
you
wanna
have
give it
any.
to
Oh, I don't have any.
Okay, you
right
gave
now.
it all to Kathy,
Yeah.
so Kathy,
All right.
between you and
Yeah.
Carol, will get everything together for, and you have, what, 8 months to get it all together.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's all there now, so
All right.
I'll just add yours, yeah.
okay, anything else on that? Nope. Okay. Old business, approve the minutes from our meeting of August 18th, 2023. Anyone have any comments or amendments or changes? Are we all good?
Move approval.
I move we approve the minutes from the August 18th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Abstain.
Okay, update on the tax title research. The Town of Harwich Select Board signed a contract with Paul S. Capinos Associates to provide someone to work in the assessor's office. It's a one-year contract and is someone known to us, Gail McAleer.
Oh,
And her assignment is to work specifically on the properties that we recommended as our 3 priority properties that we recommended to the Select Board.
great.
So she has started working on that. I don't know, have you had,
She hadn't signed one.
Okay.
so.
I think she just started really last week, so after the contract was approved, so she's starting.
Do you know how many hours a week she's working?
Offhand, no, but I know it's in the contract on the,
I'm going down to talk to them
on the Board
after
of
this meeting.
Selectmen,
and all.
yeah. And some of the others, some work has already been done. So at some point, we will have a meeting, which she will attend and hopefully bring us all up to speed on where she is and what progress sometime in the future, because obviously she's just getting into it.
Mhm.
But, you know, the little roadblock is without a tax collector and without a town planner and with the assessor's office having been short-staffed and kind of overworked, and they're just starting to get up to speed, so hopefully, once we get someone in the tax office.
I saw on the selectmen's agenda for Monday that there's a candidate for town planner that
Oh.
they want to
Good,
hire,
good.
so. It's a woman, I've forgotten her name now. But
Yeah, but, I kind of made it clear to our liaison, Mr. McCaskill, and all that, really, we need to work with those people. I mean, we need that information. We need to know. Now, in theory, our original list of properties that we had, remember the ones with all the green highlighted, all right, we took out the 3 top priorities. We made that recommendation. Theoretically, now, we should move on to whatever else is on that list and decide, well, what ones are we gonna look at now? Which holds us up is the fact that the tax office, they have no time, they're short, whatever, they don't have time to sit with us and go through that list and let us know if they've been resolved, if they've gone to legal, if somebody showed up and made a payment. So we don't know which ones that we should focus on.
Right.
So that's, I've been trying to work on. Okay.
Elaine, is this position that's been funded, is this funded through the $500,000 warrant article from 2 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Partially, because I think it's more. I think it was more than the 500,000. Forget now exactly what the amount was. But it is, online on the select board's
Okay.
packets, yeah. So that's a good step forward, to have somebody there specifically on this, And in the assessor's office also, Madison is back from her maternity leave, and she's been promoted to assist. So staffing is getting better down there, so hopefully things will move along. And that's where we stand. Michael, is there anything else that you would like to?
I'm all set, thank you.
You're good? Okay. Thank you for being here for support for them. Thank you. Members' reports. Kathy, I guess how about CPC?
Like I
anything?
said, like I might have mentioned that we've received requests totaling over $5 million, total of 17 applications this year. I don't know the actual budget figures for what is available, but it is, we're gonna get less from the state coffers that fund some of the CPA funding. So, I would guesstimate between maybe 2.2 and 2.5 we might have available for over $5 million in requests. A lot of requests in the community housing area, for sure.
Yeah.
Because, obviously there's been so much public opinion about that, and various groups are really starting to try to do something, so.
Yeah.
So we started deliberating this past month, and we have 2 meetings set in November and 2 meetings set in December to listen to all the applicants and, move from there, so.
I've watched your meetings when I can. How's the new process working, the online applicating, making the application?
We've not had any complaints from anyone thus far.
Okay.
People had I think, they were encouraged to submit applications earlier, So we did everything online this year, an online submission process, which was time-stamped and then sent back to the people to do, the applicants to do a signed PDF and a hard copy. We had one issue where someone said they didn't understand the process, but I pointed out to the applicant that you know, we had tried to help them along with reminders of dates and such like, and that kind of thing. Anyway, to that point, one of the applicants suggested, who did have problems, that we have a meeting prior to the application deadline to help individuals, an actual physical meeting to help them just specifically with the application. But so far, it's been pretty positive.
Good.
All the supplemental materials are available right away through a link. One of our members, John Ketchum, has done a wonderful
yeah.
job putting everything out there and on the website for anybody to see. So everything's been, uploaded in a very timely fashion, so anybody in the public can access the applications and the supplemental materials, as long as it's not something that's in confidential.
Right.
So,
Good.
looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, well, kudos to John, because I
Yeah.
know it's not,
Yeah.
well, especially me. Anything that works well on the computer is great.
I mean, I'm a hard copy kind of person, but I even agreed this year that, I'm like a dinosaur, but I agreed this year to just go for the, online copy. So that's gonna be different. I'm not gonna be toting around like a stack of applications like this,
Good.
so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Brad, is there anything that you'd like to share or comment on? Anything? Anytime. Margot, what's up with the planning, local planning?
The committee has been working on shaping a survey, community survey,
Okay.
which is getting into final form and will be going out probably, I'm guessing sometime in November. We did sort of an informal postcard based little survey that anybody can fill out, and we've actually there's a drop box downstairs for people to fill it out. It asks just 3 questions. One is, what do you like and value about the town of Harwich? The second question is, what are your concerns about future, growth and issues in town? And the third is, tell us anything else you think that the committee ought to know. And we've gotten over 100 responses back on that. And the postcard's got a QR code on it, so you can just take a picture of the QR code and go straight to it, and you can do it online. You can respond online. So I would encourage everybody to do it.
Where do you get the postcard?
You don't, that's a good question, actually. No, I mean, the committee members have been distributing them
Oh,
in
okay.
various places. I bet there's some in the library. There are probably some downstairs, too.
So
but-
it wasn't a mailing, it was just
No,
like.
it's not a mailing. No, it's just sort of,
Yeah.
people are handing them out in
Okay.
various places. We're supposed to do it at Cranberry Fest tomorrow, but
It's gonna rain.
Yeah,
it's
that
gonna,
doesn't-
it's gonna rain.
Yeah.
Too bad.
But it's, if you go, the other way to get at it is in the town, on the town website, if you go to the local planning committee, there's a link there. Just on the opening page in the upper left-hand corner, there's a link. So if you just click on that, it'll take you right to it. And it's a really short little thing, but it's been very interesting to see
Oh,
what the
good.
responses are. And a lot of concerns about housing, which is not surprising given everything we all already know, but also big concerns about growth and development and loss of open space and the need for better planned growth. It's been interesting to see. So the committee's also doing some individual sort of outreach to specific groups, and different members of the committee have kind of volunteered to be the liaison to, say, the Chamber of Commerce or to the religious leaders in town, or, just trying to sort of hit different stakeholders. So, and we've got a consultant, which Ty and Bond, the firm of Ty and Bond, and the woman who's working with us from Ty and Bond is Sharon Rooney, who I worked with for many, many years at the Cape Cod Commission. She was the chief planner there when I was the director. And she's very, very talented, capable person. So we're lucky. We're really lucky that we have her, and we're lucky that we got her on board before Paul Halkiotis left, because I think we would have been floundering without some guidance. And she's done a good job of sort of keeping things on track.
Great.
So.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, making great progress. Dave?
The maps, I finally started this week working on it. I finally have found some time. And I should have them ready in a couple of weeks. I don't think it'll take much, any longer than that. But
Okay.
if I can push it, it'd be next week, but we'll see what happens.
So do you think we could put an agenda item for our November meeting where you
would,
could
yeah,
show us
yeah, I think,
on the big screen?
Yep.
What's happening?
I mean, it's not gonna be, there's not gonna be that significant a change from,
No, but if
It'll
we can,
refresh us.
yeah, and if we can get some information on some of these properties as to what their status is now that we've looked at before, it might be good to see on the map what's still, we're still gonna be talking about.
you know, it's not gonna be perfect because, you know, the data, reality is dynamic, and these are snapshots, so that I've got, the parcel identification is from, I think it was the July 31st. But, and, you know, new subdivisions and stuff like that won't appear on those things, but it'll give us,
Okay, good.
it'll give us a
No,
good,
it's
you know,
good.
as
The visual effect is always good, the visual.
I'm more interested in the old anyway.
and it's being built, rebuilt, this time around, so that it makes it easy for us to update the data,
Okay.
so that if we wanted to, you know, refresh it in January with January data, it's not hard to do that. The parcels only get, well, the data ends up on a Massachusetts GIS system. But I've been working with Carly and Gail about getting access into the, I think it's called AI, which is where the parcels are actually defined, the GIS engineers work. And I'm hoping I can be able to get access to that so that I can pull down, as, you know, a couple of times a year, pull down where the property lines have changed. And we could be able to update the maps even more frequently if we deem that necessary.
Good,
So
wow, okay.
Assessors usually only do it once a year.
with the number of changes we're making right now, they're basically sending stuff to them continually. They've got a year-round contract with them. That's what Carly had told me a couple of months ago, that they were willing to do.
Things
it.
were exceedingly messed up here with the mapping. So,
Any of those
I,
unmapped areas been mapped?
pardon?
Have any of those, like, unmapped?
Actually, as a matter of fact, an example of that is the Copeland's property that HCT purchased. Mike has gotten the S2, S3. We got a plan, it's registered. I sent it off to Carly last week, and along with the overall plan, it looked to me like Copeland's was gonna join it all into one lot. I don't know what she plans to do with that. So some of the discussion I wanna have with them down there is to, you know, find out what's going on for HCT, but it's gonna impact the map. They will look different. But it takes, what HCT has purchased in the maps that we received from Populous, identified some miscellaneous parcels are now, in this case, a couple of lots have been marked out. And also identify some areas where there's ownership interest by HCT, but it's not well-defined, so there's no plan for those per se. I mean, usually they're half a cranberry bog or something like that. But all of that is in the sand pit area at the end of JZ Drive. But there's lots of that going on around town. So, you know, owners unknown constantly changes as Bill Marsh and other developers suddenly pop out with a plan and, you know, subdivide it into $1 million homes. So. But that's what I want to be careful about us not spending time on something that somebody's already got a planned event.
Right. Carol, any concerns,
No.
anything you want to bring up or
thank you.
talk about? Okay, we're good. Well, I haven't done much. My chair's report is going to be slim. Although this coming Monday, there is an Affordable Housing Trust meeting at 1 o'clock. I plan to be there. I've also talked to Mr. McCaskill. He is trying to set up a meeting between the Rios, the assessor's office, the finance officer, and I don't know if they'll get somebody from the tax office so that we can all get together and talk about how we need cooperation and access between all of us. And I know he's been working on some of the properties that we had recommended. He has talked to people who claim to have some partial or maybe ownership in the area and trying to straighten some of that out. So he's been working on it. It doesn't maybe seem right now, but it is being worked on. Things are happening, and it feels like we're finally going to make some progress and have some results that are, that we've been waiting for a while. So that looks good. I did not go to the last Affordable Housing Trust meeting, so, no, neither of us were there. I have gone to the meeting with the chair of the select board and, Mary Anderson and Jeff Handler, just to voice my opinions and concerns about things. And I think that's a great idea. They're starting to get pretty good feedback from a lot of people are starting to show up at those meetings. And last time I was there, I was one of 4 that were there waiting to talk to them about different things and get their, let them know what they thought about stuff and what was going on. So I think that's a great thing that they've started doing. It's very informal, very casual, just sit in chairs and chat with each other. So, that's good. Okay, if there's nothing else, anyone? Oh, go ahead, Carol.
Just a quick one. So you'd mentioned that Gail McLear
McAleer, yeah.
is working on some properties we recommended. And then you mentioned Mike McCaskill is. Are they the same list or are they different?
No, he's working on the ones that we recommended, the priorities.
ones
The
that-
3 priorities that we recommended
okay. All right.
is what they're all focused on right now.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bless you. Kathy?
Yeah, just a quick question. Have you heard anything further about the housing fair?
That was another, Kathy and I attended a meeting with Brianna Powell, who is the housing advocate, the town housing advocate. And she was talking about having a housing fair in the middle of November, the 14th of November. And she was contacting different organizations to participate in it, to have a table. Habitat, HAC, she had a list of about 20 different organizations. And how it was going to be set up, and there would be open to the public. It would be in the evening, that people could come after work and all that. Anybody that had any housing concerns or questions, they could be directed to the right people. A couple of the banks in town, as far as home loans and things like that. And it seemed like a good idea, and a lot of good ideas were brought to the table. And I had even suggested to her that she start publicizing it, get it out there. So, and you're talking about November 14th, people got to know, start getting it out there. But I have not heard anything.
Okay. As Elaine was representing Real Estate and Open Space, I was representing Community
Oh, yeah.
Preservation Committee.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anything either, so,
And I know
just kinda
Elizabeth Harder was there representing the Housing Authority, and Richard Waystack was there
Right.
representing
Community.
community, yeah.
Oh, well,
So,
okay,
but
checking.
it's out there. But, yeah,
Is it really happening, not advertised?
We don't know.
We don't
We don't know.
Haven't heard anything in a couple weeks.
Isabel, Elaine, Mike's
Michael?
got his hand up.
There's also an annual conference coming up on October 26th in Hyannis, at least registration's online. It's sponsored, co-sponsored by Housing Assistance Corporation, so it's something to check out too.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Oh, the other thing, did anyone attend the joint HCT and the Housing Trust?
I did.
Yes.
Oh. I went to a lot of meetings that week.
Page 4 here, yeah.
Yes, so I attended the event that was sponsored by HCT and the Affordable Housing Trust regarding open space and housing collaboration. Is that correct? And they had a gentleman from Stowe, Mass, who spoke to us about 2 projects in Stowe that were collaborative efforts, one on a large scale, one on a small scale. And, you know, it was a great presentation. It was really well attended, I thought, and gave everybody, like, you know, some food for thought. And, you know, a lot of behind the scenes sort of collaborative working together meetings to come up with what they came up with. You know, certainly, you know, they talked about a smaller parcel of land that they devoted a certain percentage, which was closer to the road front, to affordable housing. The rest was preserved. And then the second large project was a very large double 18-hole golf course. And so one 18-hole golf course at this time is still preserved as a golf course, and one, they were able to take a certain percentage, mostly kind of, I think, closer to the infrastructure, and create a very multi sort of style dwelling. You know, I think it contained some senior housing and some rental and some ownership, a whole combination, and then preserve the whatever. And you know, it looked great on paper, and it was a great asset to the town. So it was a good
Good. Yeah.
meeting. So
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. Thank you, Kathy,
Yeah.
for going to those, yeah. All right, our next meeting date is November the 17th. That's okay with everybody? And again, as always, anything you'd like to see on the agenda, please let me know. And especially if, I know we're starting to get into the holiday period. So if you're, as soon as you know you're not going to be able to attend a meeting, let me know. So if we don't have a quorum, we know in advance. It's not, you know, we get here and wait to see if somebody shows up. You know, that we'll know in advance so we can get things done. And hopefully by that November meeting, we will have a lot more information on the properties that we've talked about. Okay?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike.